All right, everyone, welcome to our second week of our Expert Educator Health Series. We have heard your questions, we've heard your needs, and one of them is we want to be educated about health and wellness, and we want to be educated by experts. And this is a subject that is really near and dear to my heart because it's something that I've really struggled with my entire life, and that is gut health. I met this beautiful woman, Nicole. She is a health coach who is very passionate about empowering people to make healthy, positive choices. So, Gianna, shh. So I am going to let her take over. And actually, you guys, I just love her story because she was in another career and so passionate about health that she took a big, bold, courageous move that followed her passion and her heart. And that to me says everything about the type of service that she provides people. So I'm so excited to hear from her tonight. Thank you, Nicole.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I have a question. Can you see my notes on the side? Are you seeing exactly what I'm seeing?
Yep, we see exactly what you
I
see.
wonder if there's a way that I can present it in a different way.
If you play a slideshow, it'll just show the slides. If you just play your slideshow.
I know, I kind of needed those notes though. That's why
That's okay. No one, guess what? We are super flexible here, and everyone here is like very chill. So,
I'll try to move it to the side as much as I can.
Yeah, totally. No problem.
Because normally I've presented decks like this before, and if I share just the presentation and not my screen, the notes go away. So that's why.
All right, sounds good.
Well, thank you for that very sweet introduction, though. That was very nice of you. So, like Delray said, I'm a certified health coach. So I was a packaging engineer actually for General Mills for 3 years. And I left a couple years ago to start my own health coaching business. So I graduated from the Institute of Integrated Nutrition, and I wanted to talk about digestion because this is probably one of the main topics that I see with all my clients that they need help with, because digestion is such a key part of our health. You know, it affects your mood and your food choices and just your overall well-being. And so I'm such a believer that when you start with digestion, you can heal so many other aspects of your life. So today I wanted to talk to you about, let's move it over here. There we go. I wanted to share a few different things. So first of all, how your gut is the powerhouse to your bodies, why it is the hub of everything that your body is responsible for, why digestion plays such an integral role in your life. So again, how the gut and digestion are directly related. How to improve your digestion through lifestyle and supplements. So whether that be through food, through additional supplements you're taking in addition to eating a whole foods diet, and then different foods to incorporate into your diet for optimal digestion. So we'll talk about different foods that have prebiotic and probiotic components to them that can be super simple to start integrating into your diet right away. Okay, so everything starts with your gut. Your body is full of trillions of bacteria, viruses, and fungi. They are collectively known as your microbiome. So you hear a lot of people say, oh, you need to make sure you have enough good bacteria in your gut. That's what they are referring to when they say good bacteria. It's that combination of all those things in your gut, which make up your microbiome. Some of that bacteria obviously is associated with disease, but other parts of that bacteria, that good bacteria, are really good or really important for your immune system, your heart, managing your weight, and other aspects of your health. Now, over time, we've evolved to live with microbiomes. So, you know, back in the day, people's gut flora would have looked way differently than our current day gut flora, and that has everything to do with our diet and lifestyle. So during this time, the gut microbiome has naturally evolved, just as humans have evolved, as our lifestyles have evolved. It's changed with us to help us survive. And your gut microbiome is determined as soon as you are born, as soon as you're a baby. Your immune system is determined. And so that's why it's so important as you're raising your children that this is an integral part of their life, their diet, their lifestyle choices to help supplement that immune system that they are born with as a baby. And there's different aspects of your body that your microbiome and your gut play a role in. So digesting fiber, which you should be eating a high fibrous diet to begin with. So that's a really key part of that. Controlling your immune system, like I said, your immune system is directly related to your gut. And if you don't have that healthy gut flora, you'll notice that you either get sick a lot or you get sick really easily and you have a hard time getting over that. Brain health is also another one. And anytime you have an imbalance in that gut flora, it's also known as gut dysbiosis. And a lot of times I'll see in my clients that they're holding on to extra weight, and that weight has nothing to do with eating an excess number of calories or bad foods. It's really that gut flora is just out of whack, and it's not allowing that body to release naturally. It's just holding on to all that toxic waste. Okay, so at this point, you're probably wondering, after I said all that, how can you improve your gut microbiome? So I'm going to give you several tips that you can integrate into your own life to improve your gut microbiome. So the first thing is to eat a diverse range of foods. And what this does is this puts different enzymes and vitamins and minerals into your gut and makes your gut bacteria really diverse. And that means a diverse gut bacteria indicates that you have a healthy, good gut. And you'll notice probiotics on the market, they'll talk about, millions or trillions of strains of bacteria. That goes with that diversity of your gut bacteria. So in particular, foods like legumes, beans, fruit, they contain a lot of fiber and can promote the growth of healthy bacteria. So make sure those are a staple part of your diet. Also eating fermented foods. So things like yogurt, if you're not dairy-free, that's a great fermented food. Sauerkraut, kefir, all healthy bacteria. Kombucha is another popular one. And the bacteria that these all have in them are called lactobacilli. And this can reduce the amount of disease-causing species in the gut. Another thing you can do is limit your intake of artificial sweeteners. I mean, we've been hearing this for years now, how you should limit your artificial sweetener intake. But just as a reminder, they are so harmful to not only your health in general, but that gut bacteria. As soon as something foreign like that your body has a hard time breaking down, enters that microbiome, that gut flora is just completely out of whack. So limiting your artificial sweeteners, things like aspartame, I'm having a hard time thinking of other ones because I just don't eat them. So I'm not looking at packages that have them in there, but aspartame is a big one that you should try to avoid. But on the other hand, things like stevia, monk fruit, I personally don't have a problem with those. I know some clients can be sensitive to stevia or monk fruit, and they're marketed as more natural sweeteners derived from plants. So if you're looking for something that is a more natural content without adding the additional sugar and calories from whole sugars, that can be an option. Also eating prebiotic foods. So prebiotic foods, and this is different than probiotic, these are things like artichokes, bananas, asparagus, apples, and oats. And so I like to have these all on a weekly basis. It doesn't have to be daily. It's not like you have to do every single one of these things every day, but just incorporating them into your rotation of your different meals. Eating whole grains, that's another wonderful way to add additional fiber, beneficial carbs like beta-glucan, which are digested by the gut to benefit weight, reduce your risk of cancer, diabetes, and other disorders. Another thing you can do is trying a plant-based diet. I personally eat a plant-based diet. still have salmon once in a while, and I will do eggs occasionally. So I don't try to call myself vegan because I'm not 100% vegan, but I'd say my diet is mostly plant-based. And vegetarians, it's been shown that since they're not eating meat or as much meat, the bacteria known as E. coli, that is taken out of that's completely taken out of their diet, or the chance of getting E. coli contamination. And also plant-based diets in general, very anti-inflammatory, good at lowering your cholesterol because you're not consuming meat, especially something like red meat on a regular basis. So that is just one tip that I like to share. I always tell people it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing either. You can have an 80% plant-based diet, and that other 20% you're having a little meat and a little dairy, but it swings more towards eating those whole fruits and vegetables and grains. And taking a probiotic supplement, this is probably the most straightforward, simple thing every single person can do on a daily basis. I take 2 probiotics every single morning. It takes 2 seconds. Find a brand that you like. I like to recommend something that is a soil-based probiotic. There's just research behind it that when you go back to the soil, go back to the earth, and you use that bacteria, that it's really beneficial to your gut. So that is my recommendation for that. But taking a probiotic is absolutely crucial. You can eat all the healthy food, you can be drinking all the water, doing all the healthy things, but a probiotic is such an integral supplement that I believe everyone should be taking, because it's impossible to have a perfect gut flora without the help of that bacteria from that probiotic. And then lastly, I just added this note in there to take antibiotics only when necessary. And I know there are exceptions to this. We all need antibiotics once in a while. Thank goodness for modern day medicine, but don't rely on them. Every time you take an antibiotic, especially if you're on it for an extended period of time, it completely washes all of that healthy gut bacteria out of your system. And then you kind of have to restart over from step one. So when you can, just try to limit that and just leave it for when it's absolutely necessary. So the bottom line of all this, let's just kind of summarize everything that I've talked about so far. Your gut microbiome is made up of trillions of bacteria, fungi, and other microbiomes. We understand that piece of it. The gut microbiome plays a very important role in your health by helping control digestion and benefiting your immune system and many other aspects of your health. It's just such an important part of your being. I think it's the hub of everything we do. Like I said at the beginning, it's not only related to our digestion, but your gut is the hub for your emotions, your stress levels, how you are triggered by certain things. There's a lot behind it that is separated from the food aspect. And that's why I just think that we should take such good care of it. An imbalance of unhealthy and healthy microbiomes in the intestines may contribute to weight gain, high blood sugar, high cholesterol, and other disorders. So to help support the growth of healthy microbiomes in your gut, eat a wide variety of fruits and vegetables, eat the rainbow, whole grains, fermented foods, and take a probiotic. Now, aside from eating all the healthy foods, taking your probiotics, one thing that a lot of people miss is if they're actually absorbing the nutrients from the food they're eating. There's a difference between eating the food and then assimilating that food and making sure that you're absorbing it properly. And then it's not just coming in your mouth and going out the other end without nourishing your body. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I mentioned earlier about eating the rainbow. This is, I think, one of the most applicable wellness phrases you'll hear out there, just because it's so simple, it's so easy to understand. Making sure that you have all these colors on your plate as much as you can. And that's wonderful. That should be your goal. However, if you're not assimilating these foods properly, all of that kind of goes out the window. So the idea that you can achieve optimal health by eating a whole variety of these plants that are considered whole foods, very nutrient dense, that's wonderful, but you have to make sure that you're absorbing all those nutrients. So if your body is not adequately absorbing the nutrients and phytochemicals from all those whole foods, you are unfortunately not benefiting as much as you could be. So I found a study a couple of years ago, actually, and I first started working with clients just to help them understand the impact that this had on their diet. So this study found that, for example, eating a kale salad, you're not going to get as much out of that kale salad as you could if you were if you were digesting that optimally. So you could have two people side by side. One person has a really healthy gut flora. They're absorbing all these nutrients from the food. The person next to them eating the exact same kale salad, they don't take a probiotic. Their gut flora is off. They're not getting any nutrients from the food. So there are specific things you can do to make sure you are getting all the benefits you possibly can from the full spectrum of the nutrition rainbow. So nutrients from whole foods are vital to the health of the human body, precisely because nutrients are what your cells use to operate properly. The more nutrients your body gets, the higher level at which you will function. The primary way the body gets nutrients is via digestion. A smaller amount enter our body in other ways, such as vitamin D from the sun, which gets soaked up by the skin. However, the primary way, again, is through your digestive system. So the digestive system breaks down nutrients to a small enough level where your cells can osmose them to grow and repair themselves. And that's what's happening every time we sleep, all throughout the day. So there's two different processes, or two different ways this happens: mechanical processes, and then things that we call digestive heroes. So mechanical processes meaning chewing, every time you chew your food. And then the muscles in your stomach, when those are contracting and when those are mixing with all of your stomach acids, that's also part of that process of digesting your food. Then the digestive heroes, which are known as your stomach acid, the enzymes, and the healthy bacteria, that also plays a role in the digestive system. And this process is so time-consuming and taxing on the body. It takes up the most energy ahead of any other bodily function or process that we do throughout the day. And that's why the goal is to make digestion as smooth, as simple and efficient as possible so that we free up that energy for other things. Okay, so digestive enzymes. These are the complex proteins that come into play to stimulate the release and the absorption of nutrients from the foods you eat. There are three specific groups that break down: protein, fat, and carbs. Bacteria produces the digestive enzymes in the small intestine, and they work hard from there for the remainder of the digestion process. These enzymes require specific pH levels in order to operate efficiently. And pH levels, if you're not familiar with that is the spectrum of being alkaline or acidic. And there's different ways that you can test your pH levels. They have saliva kits, urine kits. I personally use just little sticks that I urinate on once in a while. And it will tell you how acidic or alkaline your body is during that time. And generally what that will indicate is either you need to eat more alkalining foods or more acidic foods, because you can be so far on the alkaline spectrum that you have to add a little more acidity into your diet. So it's all about finding that perfect balance. But when there is imbalance in the body, like you're eating too many acidic foods like red meat, dairy is acidic, alcohol is acidic, processed foods, that is when those pH levels become unfavorable. And these digestive enzymes have a hard time doing their job. So low counts of these digestive heroes are linked to various issues like gas, bloating, and malnutrition. And it's definitely, in my opinion, worth looking into a meat diet versus plant diet, or just, like I said, shifting the ratio a little bit. Maybe it's 80% plant-based, 20% your meat and your dairy products. Okay, and like I said at the bottom, this is what I tell all of my clients. If you're transitioning to a plant-based diet or you're just trying to eat more plant-based foods, you are going to notice instantly that you feel more energized and lighter, and your body feels like it has a new set of batteries almost, like you just feel like you have this pep in your step. And that's because those nutrient-dense plant-based foods, they are working so well with your digestive system. Your digestive system isn't working as hard to break down all those foods, so it's freeing up all this wonderful energy for other things. So here are some practical ways to absorb more nutrients. So, like I said before, you can be taking your probiotic, you can be taking your digestive enzymes, but if you're not absorbing those nutrients, those supplements are basically going to waste. So a few different things you can do to make sure you're absorbing those nutrients properly. The first one, try to maintain a plant-based diet as much as you can. Fruits, vegetables, and other root vegetables have the most nutrients in them per volume. And plus, your body is designed to break down plants more effectively or efficiently than any other food group. So try simple veggie stir fries, soups. Soups are a great food for the winter time, maybe not so much in the summer, but like big salads with vegetables and beans and legumes. I love using tempeh as a vegan plant-based form of protein. Like I said, I still do salmon once in a while. So there's a lot of creative ways that you can add protein and volume to your diet by eating a plant-based diet. Taking the right type of probiotic daily, find one works for you. Find a brand that you like that sits well in your system, and make sure you're keeping those healthy bacteria populated and healthy. With all the threats to our gut bacteria in our environment, it's not just like what's in your house. It's when you're walking outside and you're breathing in the pollution without really thinking about it. That actually takes a toll on your gut as well. Limit processed foods, meat, and alcohol as much as you can. And these are what I have done research on as being digestive or enemies to those digestive heroes. Now, it's not to say you can never have processed foods and meat and alcohol ever again. In moderation, like the 80-20 rule is what I like to say. Eat more raw foods. Raw foods like raw fruits and raw vegetables, they have a higher nutrient absorption content versus cooking them. And there are a few exceptions, like I know spinach is one, tomatoes are another one, but for the most part, eating foods in their raw state, you're getting those wonderful enzymes that are easier for your body to digest. And then finally, take digestive enzymes. Take your probiotics. These are so easy to work into your routine. I typically take my probiotics first thing in the morning, and then I take digestive enzymes before lunch and before dinner, just because those are my heavier meals. And I notice that I don't feel as just weighed down after my meals or tired. Those digestive enzymes are just working to absorb those protein, fats, and carbohydrates after you eat them. This is one topic about digestion that I love, that not a lot of people know about. So one question that you might have heard is, does it matter when you eat certain foods? And the answer is absolutely. One of my favorite women in the wellness field, her name is Kimberly Snyder. She's an amazing nutritionist. And she coined this quote, and she says, you are what you digest, not what you eat, which I think it's very easy to understand once you know the importance of digestion. So I wanted to talk about different ways to optimize your digestion by eating certain foods at certain times and combining them properly. So like I mentioned before, when you optimize your digestion, you are freeing up all this energy in the body. That means you can put energy towards other things that ultimately slow down the aging process. In a nutshell, more energy equals more beauty. So think of your cells are repairing, your hair has more time to grow, your skin has time to renew itself. The real cause of aging is acidic sludge, toxic buildup in the body, which constantly impedes energy. Ongoing cleansing, which includes consuming cleansing foods, is the way that we clean out that sludge. So as you clean out that toxicity, oxygen opens up in your body and you will assimilate nutrition better. Certain foods and combinations of foods digest more easily than others, which take up less beauty energy. Freeing up energy from digestion is the single most important way to redirect large amounts of energy to make weight loss efficient and fight aging. So I included this diagram pulled from Kimberly Snyder's. This is actually one of her books that I have read multiple times now. And this is her beauty pairing food cheat sheet. And it's a way to remember how to pair certain foods for optimal digestion. And I can say this is something that I practice on a regular basis. And I've been doing this for going on 4 years now. And I notice a significant difference when I properly food combine versus when I don't. I feel lighter. I feel more energized. I don't feel like I'm tired after I eat. And it takes a little bit to get used to because some things are not as traditional as maybe what you're used to. But here are the general guidelines. So the first one is starches mix well with vegetables. So think of a rice or a quinoa with veggies. So like a nice big stir fry. Proteins and starches. Actually, let's go over to number 2. Proteins do mix with vegetables. So you have salmon, you have a piece of chicken, you have some vegetables with that. That's your meal. Proteins and starches do not mix. So this one is fascinating because you think of a lot of people will have, let's say chicken, broccoli, and sweet potatoes. That's like a very staple meal. That protein, that piece of chicken, and those sweet potatoes, that starch, don't mix well. And what happens is that toxic sludge just ends up sitting in your gut and it ferments, and that's what causes the gas and the bloating and what appears to be weight gain. But that weight gain is just that toxic sludge that you're holding on to. So different things you can do are take out that starch, add in another vegetable, add in a green. Vegetables will always be neutral with everything. Different starches do mix. So you could do like a sweet potato and a quinoa, or sweet potatoes and other potatoes. She shows like a pumpkin graphic. So like some sort of squash and quinoa, like that mixes well together. Fats do mix with starches. So anything in the potato family, a starchier bread, like that'll mix with fats, avocado, your nut butters, tahini, all of that good stuff. Different proteins do not mix. So this is I would say this is probably pretty rare that people are mixing different proteins. But let's say you're having a sandwich and you put like turkey and ham on it. Try to limit it to one form of that protein because that's an overload of that digestive energy on your body. Fats do not mix well with protein, so pair moderately. Now, there are a couple exceptions to this rule. For example, adding avocado to a protein smoothie. You're not adding a ton of avocado, and that protein in the form of a protein powder, if it's a plant-based protein powder, is so easy to digest that avocado is not really going to upset you. I do that all the time. But think of something like avocado and eggs, or avocado and a piece of meat. Like, just go easy on the fats and you should be totally fine. Fruits should be eaten on an empty stomach. This one is a absolute game changer, in my opinion. I have been doing this religiously for years now, and I've noticed such a difference with bloating, just how I feel overall after I eat fruit. So now when I want to enjoy fruit, I have it first thing in the morning, or if you've waited 3 to 4 hours after your last meal, so let's say you want some fruit in the afternoon after you have lunch, that's fine, just as long as it's on an empty stomach. The reason being is fruit is so easy to digest. Yes, it's high in fiber, but it's not dense like a starch or a protein, and so it's easy for the body to break it down. If you were to put fruit on top of a heavy meal, that fruit, it's kind of like an image, that fruit just sits right on top of that heavy meal and it ends up fermenting in your body. And that's what causes that bloating and the gas and all that stuff. When you have fruit before all that heavy stuff, your body can digest it right away and it moves through your system nice and quickly. One exception to fruit is it does mix well with greens. So you can put some berries on your salad if you're having a simple green salad, or green smoothies. I think that's a more applicable example is making a big green smoothie. You put a banana in there or pineapple or whatever it is. Greens and fruit will always mix. I love this graphic though, because I still have this out kind of every time that I'm making things just to make sure I'm adhering to it, because I think some of the pairings in here, we think of very, very traditional meals that we were all brought up with. And we're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe that's not sitting too well in my body. So this is something that I think is great to just refer back to. Okay, so, let's go back one. So just to kind of summarize what I talked about, everything starts with your gut. So make sure you are taking proper care of it. Eat a variety of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, fermented foods, and prebiotic foods to add good bacteria to your gut. Now, you can definitely incorporate all of those foods into your diet on a daily basis. I feel like it's very doable if you already eat a healthy lifestyle. However, you don't have to stress yourself out about, oh, did I make sure I got all my fruits, all my vegetables, fermented foods, prebiotic foods? If you can just master one of those a day, that's awesome. That's all I ask for. If you can do maybe 2 of those a day, that's wonderful as well. But as long as you're incorporating those into your rotation of foods and meals, you are good to go. And on top of that, taking a probiotic and digestive enzyme daily, those are just going to up everything you are doing. So first, start with those whole fruit foods, those whole vegetables. Make sure you're eating a variety of wonderful fresh food. And then once you master that piece, then you start taking your probiotic, your digestive enzyme, because all those healthy foods, all those nutrients from those foods, they're going to be better absorbed and used properly once you start taking those supplements on top of your diet. And then lastly, try proper food combining as much as you can to free up that energy in your body. And again, it goes back to the 80-20 rule. 80% try to follow it, and then 20%, maybe you slip up here or there. But I will say, taking those digestive enzymes, taking probiotics, when you don't properly food combine, they actually can help a little bit. So especially if you know that you're going to have a meal maybe at a restaurant or a special event that is not going to be properly combined, maybe you take a couple more digestive enzymes as a preventative to help you break down that food easier. But like I said, 80-20, just try to do it as much as you can, and you will notice such an amazing difference. I've had so many clients who have been eating the right foods, but just not properly combining them. And once they just make a few of those tweaks, they instantly notice changes in their weight, their energy, just how they look and feel overall. And that is all I had. If you would like to learn more, I typically share a combination of nutrition, health, wellness, entrepreneurial type posts on my Instagram and Facebook account. And you are always welcome to reach out and email me if you have questions. So if anyone has any questions, I am more than happy to answer them.
Christy Data.
Hi, this was super
Yeah,
awesome.
it's really good. Really good.
Especially the fruit part, because I've just been so, I guess, trained, like whenever you do fruit, you should have some kind of a nut butter with it to kind of balance out so your blood sugar doesn't spike. Is that still the same?
Okay, so I get that question all the time. And the thing about fruit and nuts is fruit and nuts are actually super hard to break down when they're eaten together. So if you want to have them as a snack together, what you can do is have your apple or whatever it is, wait 30 minutes and have a fat with it.
Okay.
If you're worried about your blood sugar spiking. So as long as you're having your fruit, waiting 30 minutes, and then having something else, you're fine. But try not to pair them too much together.
Okay, good idea. And then my other question is, what is another great healthy carb besides brown rice, quinoa, and sweet potatoes? I think I'm going to go crazy. Like keep eating just those three things.
Oh, I know. Okay. Have you tried Japanese yams?
They're the purple potatoes, right?
Yes.
Okay, not yet.
Okay. I just thought of that because I made them tonight for my husband. They're like a sweet potato texture. They're a little creamier. They're sweeter in a different way than a sweet potato. Mm-hmm. So those are great. What else? You said you're kind of sick of quinoa and brown rice.
Mm-hmm. I'm quinoa'd out.
Is squash? What about squash?
Oh, yeah. Like butternut squash. I guess that's not really
squash
right now.
Okay.
Have you tried, I'm drawing a blank on the name of it.
I love buckwheat grouts too.
Oh, yeah.
Buckwheat grouts are gluten-free.
Mm-hmm. And they're gluten-free.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good to know. I'll try those too. Yay.
They're really good.
I know what you mean though, especially with like quinoa. I just get sick of it sometimes too. I'm like, I've had enough.
Yeah. And for whole grains, what are your top go-tos? Because you had mentioned getting in some whole grains.
I love anything sprouted. So if you're looking for a really good bread and you're not gluten-free, I love Ezekiel. Mm-hmm. I think there's another bread called Power Sprouted. I always look for sprouted grains. And actually, this is a good point to bring up too, is when you are cooking with grains like quinoa, rice, this actually applies to beans as well. You can always soak them before you cook with them.
Okay.
So let's say you're making quinoa in the evening. Sometime in the morning or afternoon, put your measured amount of quinoa in a bowl, just cover it with water and let it sit for several hours. And what it does is it basically takes off this enzyme. It releases this enzyme that's on the outside of the grain. And taking that enzyme off actually helps you digest it better.
Interesting. Is that the enzyme that causes bloat? Because sometimes, if you eat a lot of rice and immediately you're like, oh, I have a food baby.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Same thing with beans too. Yeah.
Good to know. Oh my God, this has been amazing. You need to do like your own like show and stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Well, I am. You guys will be the first people I'm telling, but I'm coming out with a podcast sometime in June. So you'll have to.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
You're very welcome.
I think we're good. Yeah, it sounds like it.
Thank you. That was so amazing. So informative. I learned several things. All right, you guys. Thanks so much. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll get you the recording of this, Nicole, and I'll also post it in our groups.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes. Have a good rest of your night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.